welcome to a reading vlog. I have a sprained ankle, so I cannot walk right now. And because of this, I've been reading a lot more. I've been in a big reading mood because one of the main things I can still do while I'm not walking that I love to do is to read. So I want to keep reading, keep my mind busy while I can't really walk or do anything. I will primarily be doing a Lord of the Rings reading vlog. This is a bind up of all 3 of the books, or from Tolkien's eyes, the one book. And I've already read up until book 6. So book 6 is essentially the halfway point of the Return of the King. So I have 1/6 of the Lord of the Rings left to read. I have never read Lord of the Rings before, so I have no idea how it ends. I'm really excited to see how it turns out. And I'm hoping after I finish the book, I can also watch the movies for the first time, so that should be fun. But anyway, this is the main book I'm going to be focusing on in this reading vlog, reading the grand finale of this book. And just to note, the other books that I am reading at the moment as well are 2 gay romances. So it's James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room, which is like a really famous classic and one of the main foundations in gay literature. And there's also another book that came out more recently called Swimming in the Dark, and this is by Thomas Jadrowski. And this book was meant to reference a lot to Giovanni's Room. So I wanted to read these 2 books together because I'd never read either of these books before. I thought it'd be interesting to read a book that was written nearly 70 years ago, I think, this one. And this book just came out recently, but they're meant to tie in with each other. And I also thought because these are quite short and different from Lord of the Rings, there would be a nice little juxtaposition in my reading at the moment with these 3 books, and I can have a bit of a break sometimes from Lord of the Rings. With that said, this is my main thing I'm doing right now. This is the main tome I'm currently trying to get through right now, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts as I read this Lord of the Rings finale. I'm so excited because I'm not spoiled at all. I have no idea what happens. I knew that in the first book Gandalf died, but I actually had no idea he came back, so I was really excited when he came back, but that was the only spoiler that I was aware of coming into Lord of the Rings, I think. But now we're up to book 6, and with 1/6 to go, we have swapped back over to Frodo and Sam's perspective, which is a little bit for me. I'm not sure about that. And that's because when I read The Two Towers, the same thing happened. There was 2 different timelines, and so you start off the first half of the book following one timeline, which is pretty much all the characters except Frodo and Sam. And then at the end of the first timeline, you go all the way back to the start and go through the other timeline, and they both lead up until the same point. And I think that I struggle a little bit with the pacing when it comes to that type of story writing and that choice of doing the timelines like that. I usually really love the build-up that happens in the first timeline. There's always a lot of characters involved. There's a huge moment at the end of it. And the other thing is that I also really love Gandalf. He's easily my favorite character, and he is mostly primarily involved in these first timelines, and so you find that you have a lot of Gandalf, a lot of Gimli sometimes, who I also love, and just like a lot of different characters that are fun. Then everything sort of halts and you go back and you sit and you just walk around with Frodo and Sam for 100 pages. Or at least that's what happened in The Two Towers. I think that the pacing is sacrificed a little bit with at least The Two Towers, and I'm hoping it's not the same thing with The Return of the King. I just finished the Gandalf section of the book. That's what I'm going to call it, because I just love the Gandalf. I love everything he's involved in. And so there was a huge battle. There was a debate among all the kings and the princes and Gandalf, and then they all went off to the Black Gate. It was a lot of fun, and I was there for it. And then you stop just as the good stuff's about to happen, and we're going to see what's happened to Frodo and Sam. And so I just hope it's good. I just hope that I don't get bored of what Frodo and Sam are doing, and then there's a lot happening. The main thing I'm excited to see actually is just the 2 timelines come together. And I'm hoping it doesn't take too long to get there. And I'm just really excited to see if there's any twists and turns or surprises that happens, and who dies and who doesn't die. And I just really hope Gandalf doesn't die. Please don't let Gandalf die a second time. I mean, he didn't really die the first time. You just think he died. You can't do it to me twice, can you, Tolkien? Let's read this book and see how it goes. I'm really, really, really excited to see how it ends. It's Lord of the Rings, for God's sake. Like, it has to be good. thought because I'm staying at my boyfriend's right now while I am getting my foot better, that I would take you through my boyfriend's books, because I'm actually moving in with my boyfriend in about a month, and so these books are going to become my books. Technically, I think. He has a lot of like these really nice editions of some classics, including Frankenstein. He's got a nicer version of Frankenstein than I do. And Frankenstein is my favorite book, so I take that very personally. He also has a very nice edition of Dracula that I'd love to read as well. And Dorian Gray actually as well, he's got here. Anyway, I like to read all these books. Watchmen I got for him. That was a present I got for him for his birthday. And also we love Avatar, especially him. So there's an Avatar graphic novel, and of course the Eragon series that I've shown on my channel so many times because I would love to read them. I still haven't read them yet, but I would imagine once I move in and they're staring at me from this corner of the house, I will have to read them eventually. And then we have like the main bookshelf of my boyfriend's books. So we have like Ready Player One, Assassin's Apprentice. I also want to read this trilogy. We have J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, Series of Unfortunate Events, and then we also have Brandon Sanderson. I've read these books and I have my own copies, so I'm gonna have to get rid of my own copies actually. And then he's also a big fan of these Patrick Rothfuss books. I'm not personally a big fan. I read The Name of the Wind, I didn't really like it, but whatever. I really want to read this book. Liza Lockmore. Anyway, I'm not going to go through each individual book, but I do want to point out Night Film. I got this book for him for one of his birthdays as well, and I really wanted him to read it because I read this a while ago while I was at university, and I loved this book so much. This book was so good. I would love to reread this book, and I hope he reads it soon. I think he is planning to read it sort of soon. There's also some Neil Gaiman on the end. I really want to read Good Omens really soon. Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite authors of all time. There's also just some random books down the bottom here as well. When I move in, I'm going to have to reorganize everything because I'm bringing my bookshelf in as well. So we're gonna have to organize our books all together, but that should be fun. That will happen in my moving vlog. I'll capture that, me organizing all the books. He has read this. I don't think I want to read it. It by Stephen King. I also got him this book. I love a lot of Japanese literature, and one of the books I read was The Convenience Store Woman by the same author here, and she brought out this other book called Earthlings, maybe last year. Hello! Today is a good day. Today is a happy day because I am finally seeing really great recovery with my foot. I feel like I'm very close to being able to walk on it again, and I'm pretty mobile on my crutches. So, you know, just I'm really living it up. I'm just having fun with my crutches, and being able to put my foot on the ground again is just a fun time. It's been a few days and I have read a little bit more as well. So I have read another 30-40 pages around about that of this book. I now have 100 pages to go and I am up to chapter 3, Mount Doom. I've read 2 chapters following Sam and Frodo now, and I think I've really figured things out. I've really started to figure things out. Here's what's happening. I don't particularly like Frodo as a protagonist, and hear me out, because I didn't want to say this, I didn't want to admit this to myself for a really long time because I was scared that everybody else in like the Lord of the Rings fandom loves Frodo or something like that, or he's just super beloved and I'm a big hater, and I don't want to be that hater that's coming in like in 2021 like, Frodo sucks. However, I then saw a video from Murphy Napier, one of my favorite booktubers, and she had this video just discussing whether Frodo was a bad protagonist or not. And I didn't watch it, but I saw the thumbnail. That made me realize that there may be some people out there that also feel the same as me, or at least that there is an argument out there for Frodo not being that great of a protagonist, and it made me feel a lot better about being able to share my thoughts about the book. So yeah, I don't really like Frodo, and what made me totally realize this, reading the last 2 chapters that I have, is the first chapter just follows Sam. as he's got his like sword and his little stone thing, and he's overpowering orcs left, right, and center, and it's really fun to follow. And it was like the first time I had a good time with this Frodo Sam timeline since book 1. And I was like, what is going on? Why do I suddenly not mind this? And I realized it's because you're not following Frodo. And I like Sam. I've realized I really like Sam. I just don't really like Frodo. And I think the reason I don't is I just find him not very compelling or captivating. I definitely just don't feel connected emotionally to his character at all. I'm pretty connected to Sam, but when Sam interacts with Frodo, I don't like Sam as much, and it's when Sam is separate from Frodo I like him more. I find that Sam is pretty obsessed with Frodo, right? And I think that I struggle with that because I don't feel like the obsession really goes both ways. I feel like Frodo is a little nonchalant sometimes. Sam is so OTT and in love with Frodo, and I love that about Sam. It's very cute, but at the same time, it's just like not reciprocated like very well. The overall difference in the way they express their love for each other is not really connecting for me. But at the same time, I totally understand that Frodo has got this ring around him that he's holding on to this whole entire series pretty much, and this ring is meant to sort of not make you be that great of a person. It's meant to weigh you down. It's meant to put you in a worse mood and stuff like that. I see that J.K. Rowling probably got the idea of like that Horcrux, the locket that you hold on to, from this book. So I totally understand that Frodo is doing the good deeds here. He's really putting his neck on the line and like holding onto this ring that's very powerful and very scary and dangerous, and he's doing that. So I totally understand how maybe Frodo is not meant to be like the best person or hobbit at all times. So I'm grappling with that right now. I'm trying to grapple with the fact of like, you know, I want to empathize with Frodo, but at the same time I just don't understand the qualities about him that I'm meant to like. He just feels a little flat for me. Apart from that, I'm really liking this book. Apart from Frodo, I think I love this book. This series, whatever you want to call it. I don't actually have many problems with it apart from Frodo. Now that I've been able to pinpoint what it is about the book that I don't like, I'm able to appreciate everything else a bit more, I think. So I'm gonna have hopefully a lot of fun with the end of this book, and I'm really excited for the last 100 pages, seeing what happens. Right now, Sam has saved Frodo, and they're making their way through all these rocky terrains, and Gollum creeped up on them and appeared again, and they're all like, oh, Gollum, and then they ended up in a line of orcs, and they like walked with these orcs. I don't know how the orcs didn't realize that they were hobbits, and then they made their way into like this pit, and now they're hiding again, and so they have nearly made their way to Mount Doom. I'm really excited for chapter 3 to see what happens at Mount Doom, because that's meant to be where the ring is thrown into the doom. The other book I've been reading is Giovanni's Room. I am 46 pages in. This book is short. I've probably already read 1/3 of it, or yeah, just about 1/3 of it, so I'm really enjoying it so far. It feels like it's gonna be very short. Like, I feel like I've only just been introduced to the characters and I'm 1/3 in, and I'm like, whoa, this book is gonna fly by compared to Lord of the Rings. It's nice to have this book to go to when I'm a bit sick of reading like a long-ass dense book like Lord of the Rings. But this book is essentially about this American who goes and stays in Paris for a little bit. He ends up in an affair with this man that's living in Paris. Like, this man is called Giovanni, and it's meant to be about his room, I would guess, at some point. I haven't got to the room part yet. I would imagine I'm gonna cry at the end of this book. It's not a spoiler at all that Giovanni dies at the end of this book, because it's literally mentioned in the first 2 pages that Giovanni dies. So I'm not spoiling you, but I'm already sort of sad because the whole time you're with Giovanni, or that you meet Giovanni, you're just thinking about the fact that he's gonna die at the end of this book, and it's sad, okay?
As he did so, out of the corner of his eye, he had a glimpse of something falling from the crack, like a small piece of black stone that had toppled off as he passed. A sudden weight smote him, and he crashed forward, tearing the backs of his hands that still clasped his master's. Then he knew what had happened, for above him as he lay, he heard a hated voice. "Wicked Master!" It hissed. "Wicked Master Jesus! James Wilde! He mustn't go that way! He mustn't hurt the precious! Give it to me! Yes! Give it to us! Give it to us!" With a violent "Go, you creeping thing! And out of my path! Your time is at an end. You cannot betray me or slay me now." Then suddenly, as before, out of the fire there spoke a commanding voice. "Begone, and trouble me no more! If you touch me ever again, you shall be cast yourself into the fire of doom!" The crouching shape backed away, terror in its blinking eyes, and yet at the same time insatiable desire. said Sam. At least I can deal with you! He leapt forward with drawn blade ready for battle. But Gollum did not swing. He fell flat upon the
Oh my god.
Don't kill us! He wept. Don't tell them the master's trust. Let us live. Yes. Live just a little more.
Oh my god, he's hopeless.
Lying in the dust, forlorn, ruinous, utterly wretched, he himself, though only for a little while, had borne the ring, and now dimly he guessed the agony of Gollum's shriveled mind and body.
No!
Enslaved. He suddenly remembered his master. He looked up the path and could not see him. As fast as he could, he trudged up the road. If he had looked back, he might have seen not far below Gollum turn again, and then with the wild light of madness glaring in his eyes come, swiftly but wearily creeping
I knew it!
slinking shadow among the stones.
I knew it! I was literally just about to pause the audiobook so I could say, if Gollum turns up later, if he creeps back in there and does something shady, and Sam left him to live, I'm gonna be so mad. And that's what's about to happen. I know it. Because he's creeping up behind them again. They keep letting him live. Ugh.
I have come, he said. But I do not choose now to do what I came to do.
What?
I will not do this deed.
What?
The ring is mine. And suddenly, as he set it on his finger, he vanished from Sam's sight. Sam
No!
but he had no chance to cry out.
No,
For
no,
at that
no.
moment, many things happened.
Okay, what happened?
Something struck Sam violently in the back. His legs were knocked from under him, and he was flung aside, striking his head against the stony floor, as a dark shape sprang over him. He lay still, and for a moment all went black.
No.
Faster than the winds, the Nazgûl, the wind wraiths, and with a
Ah!
storm, they hurtled towards Mount Doom.
No, Sam, get out of there!
Sam saw Gollum's long hands draw upwards to his mouth. His wide fangs gleamed, and then snapped as they bit. Frodo gave a cry, and there he was, falling upon his knees at the chasm's edge. And with that, even as his eyes were lifted up to gloat on his brows, he stepped too far. Wavered for a moment on the brink, and then with a shriek,
Oh my god!
out of the depths came his last wail.
No! No way. What a roller coaster. Oh my. Whoa.
And he was gone. This is the end, Sam Catchy. And there was Frodo, pale and worn, and yet himself again.
Oh.
And in his eyes there was peace now. Neither strain of will, nor madness, nor any fear.
Oh.
His burden was taken away. There was the dear master of the sweet days. A shine.
No. Gandalf.
I would have not destroyed the ring. Here at the end of all things.
Oh. Wow, what a chapter! That was incredible. Oh my god, that was one of the best chapters of this whole thing. That was great. Mount Doom. Wow, I didn't expect all that to happen so early. I've still got 80 pages to go, I think. I love the little reference to Gandalf at the end here with what he said about Gollum. Gandalf is a beast. He is so smart. Favorite character. Love him to death. Gollum, I have such mixed feelings. I was so mad that they were keeping him alive and they weren't killing him. And it's because out of Sam's good heart, he didn't kill him. And actually, in the end, I thought it didn't pay off and that it was going to really screw them over, but then in the end, it actually paid off. It actually paid off, and it meant that the ring was destroyed in the end. So Sam's good heart paid off, and I shouldn't be mad about it. But I was mad about it for a second. I was like, are you kidding me, Sam? Just kill the dude. But that's the moral of the story, right? Good hearts always triumph. Amazing chapter, amazing chapter. I'm really excited to see what these last several chapters are meant to be regarding, because I thought there was going to be some type of huge battle at the end, like involving Gandalf and Gimli and Legolas and Aragorn. Field of Cormalin. I would imagine that maybe that's going to go back to that storyline. And we'll see what happens there. But wow, that chapter, I need a break right now. I'm gonna give this a day. Cool, I love the inclusion of Gollum. It all just ties together so perfectly. How Frodo goes mad and you really start to not trust him. I was definitely like, dude, Frodo is crazy. Get that ring away from him. That chapter also made me like Frodo more, because I feel like Frodo actually was interesting. Once he was starting to go crazy, I was like, okay, Frodo, go off. 10 out of 10 chapter. I'm so excited for the rest of this book right now. Oh my god, they killed they put the ring into the fire, into the pit, into Mount Doom, whatever you want to call it. Gollum and the ring are gone.
Hello, it's been a few days and I have read a few more chapters of Lord of the Rings. I've been reading a chapter a day. That is like how I'm approaching this, how I'm attacking this book right now. As you would have seen, I read Mount Doom, the finale of the book in a sense, like the climax of the book, and it was amazing. Such a good time. It's definitely the best time I've had with the Frodo Sam storyline, because I was struggling with that storyline. I felt it was a little boring at points, but pretty good finale there. I'm very happy with it. And then I was expecting after that for them to go back to the Black Gate and there to be some type of huge fight scene, because there was still 6 chapters to go after Mount Doom. I thought they were going to go back to Gandalf and Aragorn. You were going to see this big fight scene, but then there was no big fight scene. It just ended and that was it. Sauron disappeared. It's the end of the conflict, and now it's all just happy smiles and goodbyes for the last 6 chapters, which I think is a little drawn out. I'm so confused by the fact that there was like 80 more pages, and these pages are dense. So I just had to come to terms with the fact that Minas Tirith was the finale when it comes to that storyline involving like Gandalf and Aragorn and stuff, in the sense of like that's the big climax, the big battle that happens. When I was expecting all along for there to be another big fight scene after that, closer to Mount Doom, like that sort of area. Anyway, it's fine. It just means when I watch the movies and when I reread this book, if I ever do, I'll appreciate the battle at Minas Tirith a bit more, because it is like the biggest battle that happens, and I was so unaware of that at the time of reading it. I especially was like thinking it wasn't the biggest battle because like Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn are hardly involved in it when it comes to the amount of like time the story actually follows their perspective. Essentially, you just follow all these characters that you get introduced to quite late in the story, and the characters that you start with, like Gimli and Legolas and Aragorn, it feels like you hardly follow them in the final book here. Like, I feel like they have such a minor role, but it's fine. You have Gandalf popping in a bit, so that's good at least. I'm really sad to hear that Gandalf, his age, or like his time is coming to an end apparently, because Sauron is defeated. It means that Gandalf
Gandalf isn't needed anymore in like this life because he's meant to be Sauron's balancing force in the world. I just finished the chapter where they visit Rivendell and they see Bilbo, and it seems like maybe Bilbo's going to die, I imagine. It's what it sounds like, so I'm expecting Bilbo to die here. Elrond does say to Frodo, I think, Frodo, that maybe you will not need to come back unless you come very soon. For about this time of the year, when the leaves are gold before they fall, look for Bilbo in the woods of the Shire. I shall be with him. I know, I'm getting this weird vibe that Bilbo's gonna die for some reason. Like, he seems old, so we'll see what happens. Now I have a few more chapters to go. I have 3 more chapters to go. Let's get started on Homeward Bound, it's called. 40 pages left, I think. So, whew, here we go. They're returning to the Shire, so I wonder what is still in store for me here, because I don't really know what else there is to say. I know Legolas is meant to have some type of weird thing happen with the sea. The ocean, is that going to pop up or something? Gandalf is going to go back with them to Bree, at least, he said, so I'm excited for a bit more Gandalf here, and I'm nearly at the end, so I can watch the movie soon. While I've been reading, I've been listening to the audiobook a lot, so I've been playing Catan a lot while I'm reading this book, so that's been a lot of fun. I've also been busy packing my room up a lot, and that's been taking up a lot of my time because I'm moving in a couple weeks. And then I've also been obsessed with Mafia videos from JK Party, Just Kidding Party on YouTube, and every 2 years I get into this Mafia mood where I'm just like obsessed with watching all their videos, so I've been doing that a lot as well. I love to play Mafia, and I love playing like Secret Hitler, like social deduction games and lying games. They're my favorite thing to do, and I wish I could actually like incorporate that more into my content because it's one of my like biggest passions. And I actually did film a how-to video of how to play Secret Hitler, and I also did a like tips and tricks to being good at Secret Hitler and how to play well. I filmed those videos, but then I never edited them and uploaded them because I didn't really have the balls to do it because I felt like it was too different from the other content I create and like no one would care. But I know I'm in such a Mafia mood. I love Mafia, and I wish I could create gameplay videos, like actual games of Mafia, and upload it, but I have to get like all my friends to do it, and it's gonna be like an editing nightmare. That would be like one of my dreams if I could just like create Mafia content and social deduction game content. Like, I've just been watching them. See, they're here right now. I watch them all the time at the moment, so that's what I've been doing while I've been reading and stuff like that. And I've also been reading a little bit of Giovanni's Room, but probably not enough to actually talk about it. It's just him getting to know Giovanni right now, and they're just still talking. Also, did I scratch my face? I scratched my face here? So weird. I don't remember when I did that.
Ready to go on another journey. Are you coming? Yes, I am coming, said Frodo. The ring bearers should go together. Where are you going, Master? Cried Sam, though at last he understood what was happening.
No, what?
To the Havens, said Frodo. And I can't come.
No!
Not yet, anyway. Do not be too sad, Sam.
I'm sad.
You cannot always be torn in two. You will have to be one and whole for many years.
Oh.
You have so much to enjoy, and to be, and to do. But, said Sam, and tears started in his eyes. But I thought you were going to enjoy the Shire too. For years and years. And also, you have Rose and Eleanor. And Frodo lad will come, and Rosie lass, and Merry, and Goldilocks, and Pippin, and perhaps more that I cannot see. Things out of the Red Book, and keep alive the memory of the age that is gone, so that people will remember the great danger, and so love their beloved land all the more. will keep you as busy and as happy as anyone can be. And upon the quay beside a great grey horse stood a figure robed all in white awaiting them.
Yes!
As he turned and came
I love
towards
him.
them, Frodo saw that Gandalf now wore openly on his hand the third ring. Then those who were to go were glad, for they knew that Gandalf also would take ship with them.
I'd be glad too.
Comes the end of our fellowship in Middle-earth. Go in peace. I will not say, do not weep. For not all tears are an evil.
And then it seemed to him that as in his dream in the house of Bombadil, the grey rain curtain turned all to silver glass and was rolled back. And he beheld white shores, and beyond them a far green country, under a swift sunrise.
Bombadil. I knew he was important.
He drew a deep breath. Well, I'm back, he said.
Give me a moment.
Hello, it's wrap up time. So, what do I think of all these books? It's been a few weeks since I finished this big mammoth. Whew! I mean, it really hit me at the time when I finished it. I was actually really emotional, and I was so surprised by how emotional Lord of the Rings made me. I didn't think it would be such a tearjerker, but I guess the best type of fantasy is. I mean, Harry Potter makes me cry, and I haven't read much fantasy, and this just makes me so excited to read more fantasy. Talked a lot about all the different fantasy series I want to read, and this has been on my list for a while, so it's really nice to finally get around to it. Overall, I was thoroughly surprised by how much I liked this series. I was expecting it to be a lot more textbooky, because that's how people describe it a lot. They describe it as like, it reads a lot like a textbook, and I was like, okay, I really gotta go into this like expecting the worst. And I was thoroughly surprised by how entertaining it was. I mean, I was definitely bored during parts of it, but those parts were few and far between. I think the second installment, The Two Towers, definitely gave me the least amount of intrigue and the least amount of entertainment value, but even so, that was still probably a 7 out of 10. And then The Fellowship of the Ring, the first one, and The Return of the King, the third one, were both 4 out of 5s for me. So I don't really give many 5 out of 5 stars to books, because books really need to have like a huge profound impact upon me and change my way of life to get a 5 usually. So to give out 2 4s out of the 3 books I read here is really good. I love Gandalf. Gandalf has my heart forevermore. He's so funny. I just found him so hilarious. He would take so many digs at people around him. Even Frodo and Sam I grew to love at the end of this series. A great read. I'm so happy that I read it. And I finished Giovanni's Room. Giovanni's Room is by James Baldwin, and it's this classic from the 1950s, I believe, about a gay man, or it's never explicitly said, he may be bisexual, I'm not sure, but a gay man that is from America but currently residing in Paris. His girlfriend is currently in Spain, and he is waiting for her to come back from Spain after a few months, and he meets this guy called Giovanni, who is from Italy. It's a bit confusing, but essentially Giovanni and David, the main character, they meet in
Paris, and love, I guess, maybe, and lust, and fear and entanglement begin, and you go through a whole journey with these guys. It is so annoying at points. I was so annoyed by this book a lot of the time, but then the final 2 chapters blew me away. The final 2 chapters of Giovanni's Room are perfection. It's Pride Month currently, that's June, and I am wanting to read even more gay romance, and I'm really excited that I started with this book. I mean, I finished it at the end of May, but I'm going into June having finished this book. I'm currently reading this book, which has many callbacks to this book, because this book is just major for gay literature. Like, the time that this was written, it's talked about in this book that it was actually banned in countries, and the main character of this book is gay, and he's talking about how he wants to read Giovanni's Room, but he couldn't find it because it was like not actually officially in print in the country he lives in, which is Poland, in the 1980s, and so he had to like get it sort of underground. Going through his experience of reading this book in the 80s, where being gay still isn't accepted, even like remotely, is heartbreaking. This book is heartbreaking. All of this is pretty heartbreaking. I really actually recommend Giovanni's Room. I was going through a period with this book, maybe 2/3 in, where I was like, what? This book is not really giving me anything. I'm a little bored. Like, this is just sort of draining and exhausting to read. But then the last 2 chapters just blew me away. So riveting, so raw, so real. Giovanni just stepped up to the plate and just like told it how it was, and I was like, yes, Giovanni. And then the last chapter is the culmination of so many decisions made out of fear in someone's life and where that leaves someone. The next book I'll be reading is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is a book I'm reading with my friends for my book club that I do with them, and we're reading it for the month of June. We happened to pick this just because like one of the people in the club said he wanted to read this, but it actually does relate once again to gay literature. I think Oscar Wilde is gay, right? I'm not exactly sure what the story is and if there's any LGBTQ plus themes in the actual book itself. I guess I'll find out, but I'm really excited to read this as well for the month of June for Pride. Love gay literature. It's one of my favorite types of literature to read. I just think that there's so much amazing struggle, history involved in every book they pick up. This is set in Paris during the 50s. This is set in Poland during the 80s. And then, when is this set? I'm not exactly sure when this is set, but it says that it's Victorian Gothic horror, so I'm excited. Let me know if you enjoy a reading vlog. I've never done one before, right? Oh no, I've done one before, but this is a lot more casual one, so I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will be continuing to read this book and finish it off because I'm only halfway through this right now, and then read this bad boy during the month of June. So I don't know, let me know if you would ever want to see like future videos of what I'm just like casually reading. Bye!